Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our leadership module being held by Jamila Little, who's one of our board members. She has some great guests and some folks we had come by last year and the year before, so friends of the program, and we have some new folks. I'm always happy to meet new people because I get to network too and learn something new. So let me share my screen a little bit for the new folks. I just always like to do a little share screen, a little intro whenever we have new folks about the program. And so we are Journey to Esquire, and this is our scholarship and leadership program. We provide academic and professional development for students interested in becoming lawyers because the journey to Esquire is a long one, but we're here to help. And we're essential for diverse law students who need financial and emotional support because we provide cash scholarships, mentors, and training like today, which helps them pass the bar exam, obtain employment with competitive and powerful employers, and obtain leadership positions in professional associations, which I'm looking forward to hear about today. We do have a merchandise store if you'd love to support us, and of course, our big old donate button. If you would like to make a donation, or if you or your firm would like to become a sponsor, please reach out. All the information is here on the website. And this is our lovely class of 2022 with our interns, our board members, our scholars, and our participants. We also have a podcast. We'd love to have you join us on the podcast. Our last episode here is Abraham Shakfe, who talked about religious diversity and his Muslim background. And the point of the podcast is just to have lawyers talk about why they became lawyers and what their journey was like so that they can help lawyers, particularly young lawyers and law students and people interested in becoming lawyers, figure out this is the right path for them and to know that they're not alone. They're not the only ones who may have come across certain struggles. And we have a blog if you'd like to submit an article. We talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, access, leadership, and service. Those are our ideals. And so we'd love to have some information for you. And we also have a law day contest for middle school students. So if you have any connections with middle schools in Pinellas or Hillsborough, we'll probably extend the deadline. I've had a hard time kind of getting people to apply and to know about it. It's $500 cash. I'm like, if I was in middle school, $500 would be a big incentive for me. And so help spread the word, follow us on social media, etc. I'll stop sharing. And now I will pass the mic over to Jamila, who will take over and introduce our guests. Jamila?
Thank you, Jocelyn. Good morning, everyone. I'm really excited this morning to again present our leadership module. I have some of my friends here with me and some colleagues. We have some new folks and some returning friends. So I just want to first say thank you so much to each of our guests for just making time on a Saturday morning to give back and to inspire and talk to these law students and future attorneys. And I know that this is something that is near and dear to all of you guys, because I believe that in some respect, I have interacted with you with regards to this or had a conversation about this. These are all diverse students and certainly something that we want to see continue to flourish in terms of diversity in our profession. So I applaud you for just taking some time out and being here. We're absolutely grateful to have you. So I'm gonna just pause briefly so that you guys can give an introduction of yourself. And then we just want to have a really open discussion. This tends to be informal because we want to give these students what they need. And so we will have a Q&A session, but definitely want to talk about your paths to getting to where you are today. So for those of you, I think everybody knows me, but for those of you who may not know me, I'm Jamila Little. I actually realized this is going to be my 10th year of practice, and I'm like, where did the time go? But absolutely grateful for the journey that I've been on. My practice areas, primarily immigration. I also do criminal defense and personal injury. And today I have with me some of my friends, like I said. So I'm just gonna go based on the way my screen looks and have you guys introduce yourselves. So I have attorney Amanda Keller. Amanda, do you wanna go ahead and just say a little bit about where you are now and some of the work that you currently do?
If you'd like to know a second, my name is Amanda Keller. I'm a senior associate at Freeborn and Peters. I currently practice in the areas of insurance law, business, and commercial litigation and intellectual property.
Awesome, thank you. And I see Keith DeBose. Keith, do you want to say hi real quick?
Sure. My name is Keith DeBose. I'm an attorney in Sarasota, Florida. I'm in the practice of personal injury. My law firm is Eastmore, Crowells, and DeBose, and I've been practicing since 1996. That's a little bit longer than 10 years, but I'll let you figure the math out from there. So,
awesome. Thank you for being here. And Darren Johnson.
Good morning, Darren Johnson. I'm in Brandon, Florida. My practice encompasses criminal defense, sports and entertainment, and I say juvenile law, but juvenile delinquency. And
Gio, friend of the program, Giratana. Let me not butcher your last name.
Bravissima, bravissima. That was great, Jamila.
So Gio was with us last year, and happy to have you back. You want to say hi?
Yes, of course. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. You know, this program, I just love it. So I'm happy to be here, and it's an honor. I am an associate at the law firm Bradley, Arent, Bolton, Cummings. I'm a part of our government enforcement and investigations group. And in that, we advise clients who are being investigated by the government, whether that be state or federal. And the practice involves both civil and criminal litigation aspects if they find themselves being a target of the government. So most of our clients are healthcare clients, and so we also help those folks in just general commercial litigation too.
Okay, awesome. So now that we have an idea of who's with us today, I want each of you guys just to reflect on your journey in terms of leadership in different organizations, whether it's local bar associations or other nonprofits or just whatever outside of your regular 9 to 5, or, you know, we know those hours actually don't go that way, but and just tell us a little bit about what organizations you were involved in or you are involved in a leadership capacity, and a little bit about your tasks in those organizations. So Keith, is it okay if I start with you?
sure.
Awesome.
Currently, I'm involved in the Sarasota County Bar Association. I was actually the first Black president of the Sarasota County Bar Association. I started my path to leadership in the Young Lawyers Division and served there in capacity as president of Young Lawyers Division, and worked my way up through just kind of the leadership ranks in the Sarasota County Bar Association. Most of my service has been on it was a diversity committee, now it's a committee for diversity and inclusion, which is a standalone committee in the Sarasota County Bar Association. So I work along with projects in the CDI, and that's pretty much my development and participation in our local bar association.
Awesome. What type of, in terms of time commitment, would you say you experienced maybe going from those YLD positions and then moving up?
You know, the time varied. Luckily, I was with a firm that bar service was important. 3 of the prior members in our firm and partners in our firm were on the big board of governors, and did work with the local bar association as well as the state bar association. So they understood the value and importance of bar leadership and bar participation, both from a professional growth standpoint and from a networking standpoint and business development, obviously. So, you know, my time commitment, I would, you know, there were times where I'd be out maybe a day, you know, doing something for the bar. If there was a, you know, particular project coming up, they understood if I was out that whole day, or couple times a week at various committee meetings or whatever in order to get prepared if we were having a CLE conference or something like that that we were putting on with our committee. And especially during my time as president, that was, you know, just working on getting my agenda accomplished. And like I said, that was something that was welcomed by my firm. So.
Awesome. I'm glad you touched on that point. Darren, I'm going to go to you then, Amanda and Gio.
Good morning. Wow. I am currently involved in the Clearwater Bar Association. I'm from Clearwater, Pinellas County is home. I am involved in the entertainment and sports lawyers section with the Florida Bar. I am a member of the Florida Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, a member of the American Bar Association's sports and entertainment section. Though I'm involved in those organizations, I'm not currently in any leadership roles. I have been in the past. And now really the leadership role that I focus on right now is family. As you can see, my 3-year-old, myself, him, and my wife came down with COVID Thursday. I think we tested positive, but little man and I are fine. He has like no symptoms other than a positive test. He has a little cough. And so, you know, right now my leadership role is at home. I've scaled back my community activities and involvement. Primarily, I stay involved with those organizations right now because it lends camaraderie, case law updates, things of that nature to my practice. I'm certain I'll get back involved in those things once the kids are a little older. We also have a 8-month-old, and so yeah, those are some of the things that I am involved in. I've previously been involved in the Big Bar. I was a vice chair of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, which is the largest committee in the Big Bar, the Florida Bar. Leadership Pinellas, which is a civic organization in Pinellas County, covering the entire county. Just a host of things, just to you know, as I develop my practice and develop me as an individual.
Awesome. Amanda?
Please stop. I'm gonna make you leave.
It's so cute. So I started off fresh out of law school. I was the vice chair of the law practice committee for the American Bar Association. I then decided to get a little more involved in the local bar association, Hillsborough County Bar. I chaired the professionalism and ethics committee for the Young Lawyers Division for a couple of years before running for the board of directors. I'm the current secretary of the board of directors for the Young Lawyers Division. I've been doing that for the last 2 years. Just recently became involved in Hall, the Hillsborough Association of Women Lawyers. And I'm a graduate of the Hillsborough County Bar Association Bar Leadership Institute, which I chaired for 2 years. And that's how I met Jamila.
Gio?
Sorry. So I too get to serve with Amanda on the Hillsborough County Bar Association Young Lawyers Division. I first got started with my involvement with the HCBA. That's the short of the Hillsborough County Bar Association, and the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. And then I found other committees to get involved in. And the YLD, I chaired the membership services committee or co-chaired it for a couple of years. And then I also started getting involved with the Federal Bar Association, the Tampa Bay chapter. That's our local chapter here. It encompasses several counties in the Tampa Bay area. First got involved with the YLD, and then co-chaired the YLD division, and then got involved with the board as well. And I'm presently serving as the membership chair of the Federal Bar Association. And I've been doing that. This is my second year doing that. the American Bar Association, I've had the opportunity to serve as a YLD Florida delegate several times, which is really fun and interesting. Getting to like ask our legislators to take some policy positions on important topics. So that's fun. And I presently also serve as a 13th Circuit governor on the Florida Bar YLD.
I feel like I heard like so many different associations. You guys see how many different things, there are out there. I mean, you definitely could find your tribe, right? So now that we heard just about every single association out there, let me ask you guys the why, right? Because there must be a reason why you decided to get involved, why you see value in it. So I'm gonna throw this back to you, Gio, and just talk a little bit about why you first got involved and what was that experience like in terms of getting involved. Was there someone who kind of took you by the hand? Was it an initiative that you just decided, hey, these people look cool, let me go over here? Were you like Keith and had a firm that actually supported that type of involvement? So let's hear your whys, and Gio, we'll start with you.
Sure. Well, I wanted to get involved. I wanted to serve. I love serving. I feel like, I don't know, I just have a heart to serve. So I wanted to find a way to get involved. I did have a firm that encouraged involvement, which was really helpful. And I was waiting for them to like kind of push me like, this is where you should go and this is what you should do. And they weren't doing that. And it really bothered me. But they were modeling that bar service for me. And so I started reading publications that the HCBA would put out. They have a actually a quarterly magazine that they put out. And I saw that the Diversity and Inclusion Committee was looking for volunteers. And so I was like, okay, that's great. I'm passionate about this topic and they're looking for volunteers. This is my way to start getting involved and serve. And I reached out to the co-chairs and said, hey, I want to get involved. And they said, great, here's our next meeting. And so that was kind of my journey of getting my foot in the door. What I quickly realized though, is these organizations, there's so much work to do and so much opportunity to serve and volunteer. All you need to do is say, hey, here I am, let me know how to do it. And you'll be picked up really quickly to serve in some capacity. So that's how I first got involved though.
Awesome. And Keith, if you can add to that in terms of your why, and how, I know you said you had your firm that kind of encouraged that, but why did you, I'm sure it wasn't something that was mandatory, maybe strongly encouraged, but why did you start and why did you stay? Because even after all these years of practice, you're still very, very committed to these positions in these bar associations or just outside of your actual practice area.
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Sarasota, so coming back home to me was a good thing for me. It was a chance for me to really give back. And I got in immediately when I got back. I started coaching. I joined many boards, United Way, Selby Foundation, just different boards. I would speak at different schools. So my community involvement was there. I wasn't initially involved in bar activity. It was, like I said, my firm had prior presidents and various members of the local bar as well as the state bar. And it was all not necessarily expected, but it was kind of the next step for me to do. So I moved into bar service. My why was, I didn't have a special calling or anything like that, but I just kind of felt like it was a thing. But it was probably more importantly is why I stayed. Sarasota's legal community is not very diverse, and we've been working for years to try to do that. In fact, when I started my bar service, there was no diversity committee in Sarasota County. Scott Westheimer are currently running for the president of the Florida Bar. He and I, with the guidance of Judge Williams, started the Sarasota County Bar Association, it kind of started out as a kind of a joke, really. It was April Fool's. I wrote an article in the local docket about, Willie Gary's coming to speak to Sarasota's many, multiple Black lawyers. We had maybe 5 or 6, if that, probably on one hand, number of Black lawyers in Sarasota at the time. So it was just kind of an April Fool's joke. And, it was something we really looked at after that to see, well, why is that? And we started asking questions. We started trying to find ways to find out how we can increase diversity in Sarasota. And we just started going to schools, having conferences. We had, support of Jan Young, who was our president at that time, or director rather, the Bar Association, and Richard Garland, who passed away, but was very instrumental in establishing a scholarship for us, because to bring people back to Sarasota, to show them, hey, look, Sarasota is a great place to come back to. You have your beaches, your museums, good quality of life. Come back and practice law. So we, got some local law firms involved. It was difficult at first. It was kind of like preaching to the choir, because some firms just, look, how is it going to increase my bottom line?
Right.
And, I've said for years, and I'll keep saying it, until firms see how diversity is going to profit them or increase their bottom line, it's just not going to make a difference. I just don't feel like it's going to happen just to happen because there's this big social awareness. I think it's really going to have to be something that shows that there's some economic benefit for firms to do that. And so we kept pushing, and we're slowly moving forward and getting some more people of color in our bar association. So my why, the reason why I stay, is because I eventually want to see our bar be more reflective of what our community is like, to make sure those individuals who need their voices heard can have them accurately represented.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. That's really awesome. I'll go to Amanda and then Darren for your whys.
And why I started getting involved. I moved to Tampa right after graduating law school. I'm not from here. I moved here to be with my husband. So I didn't really know anybody. And I joined the HCBA to kind of meet people. And everyone's just so passionate about serving the community and the legal community, helping out young lawyers. And I was fortunate enough to have a firm that supported my involvement and had really good connections with the HCBA, and put me in touch with the president. That's kind of how I started joining committees like Professionalism and Ethics Committee, which is a great committee to join if you don't know anybody. I've got to meet judges through that, lawyers. We set up the state court trial seminar. So that's kind of how I got involved, was just to meet people, get out of my shell a little bit, and meet people.
Thank you, Amanda. Darren?
My why, excuse me. Excuse, I'm going to sneeze. I was like, excuse me in advance. Initially was selfish. And I say selfish because I've always known that I wanted to have my own practice. I've always, before going to law school, I knew what type of law I wanted to practice, which was sports and entertainment law. Inherently, in my mind, given my background, I knew that also included criminal defense. So just turn TV on and see how many people are getting in trouble in the sports and entertainment industry. So it was selfish because I knew, I learned very young in life that I was a natural networker. My 10th grade geometry teacher, Miss Stout, told me, Darren, flattery will get you everywhere. And she said that probably mocking me, definitely not encouraging me, because she saw that I was a schmoozer, a smooth talker, whatever you want to say, back even in high school. And so, and I don't say that with pride at all. I say it was somewhat embarrassment. So I knew I wanted my own firm. I got involved with the various organizations because of that, as I've gotten wiser. The reason I stay involved, as Mr. Du Bois indicated, remaining involved. My remaining involved is because of you all, the students. And I say that because I cut everything out. I stop all the extracurricular. I hold my membership cards in those organizations, but I'm not involved in those organizations. I'm involved with programs such as this. I'm involved with anything that has to do with going to speak to young adults, meaning 18, seniors in high school, going to college and things of that nature. The youth, and I say youth, not that y'all are kids, so don't take it that way. I stay involved because y'all want to do things, y'all want to make an impact, and whatever resources that I have, whatever pitfalls that I fell down that I can stop y'all from going down, that's why I stay involved. It's not because of any selfish reason or any bottom line or anything of that nature. My practice is established well enough. My involvement in all those organizations for years and years and years still sends people to my door. So it's not, I prefer to talk about the why I remain involved, and it's because of the generations behind me coming up.
Awesome. And that's so important, yeah, I just want you guys to think about that for a minute. We'll have some more discussion about that and the idea of, what does our profession really look like? Why are we actually, as diverse individuals, needed in leadership positions, and how does that impact the future of our profession? So I want to touch on something that Gio said, and I have found this to be absolutely true. So I'm actually on the board for Hall. I sit on this board, involved in the American Immigration Lawyers Association, as well as the big bar in their leadership academy. And I have also found that they will throw you in. So sometimes, we kind of think about, well, how am I going to get in? You go and you present yourself, and they will find things for you to do very quickly. Be a willing hand, and you certainly will get involved. But I want to talk about some boundaries because, we have seen just a lot going on with COVID, and the last couple of years have been, I think particularly challenging for just human beings in general. So I want to talk about having healthy boundaries. There's a lot of conversation now about, just mental health and really creating a space for yourself where you can thrive, but you have those boundaries. So, Gio, you mentioned that, there's a lot of work to be done in these bar associations or in these organizations outside of your professional world, right? And you're sitting right now in a 4-week trial and you're here, right? So, we certainly appreciate you being here. But how do you create those healthy boundaries? And, you have a wife, you have kids. How do you create those healthy boundaries and really decide what you're gonna put your eggs in and what you're gonna not put your hands to do, and have that that healthy space for yourself, because that's really important?
That's a big, tough question, Jamila. It's
tough
hard
to do, right? It's tough to do.
It's hard. There's this whole movement of work-life balance, right? And I'm a huge proponent of that. Because I think it's important to find time for yourself to do the things that energize you, because I think that makes us better advocates, better people, and better partners outside of our professions. And so it's something, to be honest, I struggle with on a daily basis. There's so much I would like to do and to give, but there is only so much time in a day. And there are all these competing interests and competing passions and little people in my world. Darren and I too have little ones. I had to step out for a second and be like, be quiet.
Yeah, there's realities.
And so I think the boundary portion of it is I have before taking on these roles, I would start taking on roles. And then my wife would be like, whoa, what's going on here? And we had a conversation about it. Like, this is something that we need to talk about. And let's talk about the opportunity to serve and what that looks like for our family. And having that support on the upfront, like, this is something we're doing together and deciding to do together. Because there is a certain amount of sacrifice. And I say sacrifice because it's the time, but you do get so much out of it too, right? So I think the way you set boundaries is when you're dealing, at least in a family, the family context, is having conversations about it, about the commitments that you're taking on. Really, don't just, as you said, Jamila, you can get flooded with opportunities, and you do have to be choosy. You don't want to, half do anything. You want to give whatever you can to whatever position that you're in at that moment. And so it's okay to say no. And you can still support while saying no. And you can, whether that be, a quick share on social media about an upcoming event for an organization, or just bouncing ideas off with that person. A no is okay. And thankfully, my wife is a mental health therapist.
Okay.
Like, navigate setting boundaries, because boundaries isn't just like a professional thing that we all have to work on. It's also a personal thing, right? So I don't know if I really answered your question, except for
that's great. That's
a work in progress.
I feel like you have a leg up with your wife's therapy, but that's all right. I'm gonna let whoever wants to jump in, just to answer this question as well, in terms of boundaries and setting, being involved and doing this whole leadership path, but really also being able to do it in a way that is healthy for yourself, and you can actually be there and be present and give the best part of yourself. So if either Amanda, Darren, or Keith, either of you want to just jump in real quick on this.
I'll just kind of piggyback on what Gio was saying. I think anytime you're doing something, and if you're passionate about it and you really like it, that's going to be noticed by other people, and they're going to want you to be a part of various organizations and help promote that cause. And so, like many of you all here, and like many of the law students, I'm sure once you get involved, and if you're passionate about it, you're going to be pulled in many different directions. And with family, your practice, trying to develop, I had kids. I was the dad that was at all the practices and all the games. And my parents were like that. So that's how I figured I had to be. And I liked it. I like kind of living my athletic life again through my son and my daughter, so I was at their games and on the sideline coaching the team. And I was trying to grow a personal injury practice. I was trying to be part of different boards, trying to, help speak to kids to kind of give them, try to give back. And I was doing a lot of different things, and I was constantly on the go, constantly on the move. And, I have I think I was, during my time, I wasn't diagnosed, but I was probably ADD or ADHD. I probably had some letters after my name. So I have just a lot of energy. So I like doing stuff. So I didn't get tired, but people around me were getting tired. Like, look, man, you need to slow down. And so, I just kept going and kept going. And I found myself being in a situation where I was on a lot of boards, being pulled a lot of different ways. And what I really found out was that I was probably giving 85% to those boards. And I was like, man, it's just, I felt like I was okay, but, there would be a function going on and I couldn't go because something else was going on. And I wasn't really able to be fully involved. And then I had to kind of do some of the things that Darren talked about. I had to make some cuts. I had to put some organizations on the sideline and focus a little bit more. And one of the lawyers in our firm, Margaret Good, who ran for and was a state rep for a while, ran for unsuccessfully for Congress. And she said, Keith, you can't look at it as, because I always had a problem with saying no, and I bet you all are the same way. Just, somebody asks, hey, can you help with this program? We're going to speak to some kids. No, I can't do it. That's not your natural response. It's not in you to do that. And so she said, Keith, you can't look at it as like saying no. You have to look at it as making a better yes. And so that's kind of how I looked at it. And it's kind of more of giving out of an overflow and abundance as opposed to kind of giving out of empty hands. I'm not tired giving back. I'm giving out because I have all this energy and stuff to give back because I've kind of really narrowed my focus. But I think I can say that, Gio can say that, Darian can say that, we can all say that, Amanda can say it, we can all say that here, but I think it's something that you have to go through to figure out kind of where that is for you. So I would say, don't be afraid, be encouraged and take those roles and kind of figure out for yourself, okay, where is that cutoff? And I think you all kind of have that internal clock that'll say, well, you know what, I don't think I'm really giving 100% to these 14 different organizations. May I maybe scale it down to 10 or 5 or 3, so like I said, make it a better yes as opposed to saying no, and not, that way you don't feel guilty, because that way you won't go through those phases of, man, I wish I could, that sort of thing. So it's kind of my thing.
Slogan, make it a better yes.
I love that, Keith. I'm sorry. I just love that. Make it a better yes. That is.
I wish I can say I coined it, but I didn't. But
oh man, that's all right. Yeah, but I wholeheartedly agree. I don't know if Darren or Amanda wanted to add anything. If not, we can certainly move on.
I understand what Mr. Du Bois has said. I'm of a little different ilk. I have no problem saying no. It goes hand in hand with what Mr. Giartano said as well, with having a healthy balance. And I gave a speech to some high school kids in May of 2018. And the reason I know that, because when Mr. Du Bois started talking about saying no, I pulled up my speech to see what date it was. And I actually told, these were scholarship recipients, and one of the young ladies, high school students, was overwhelmed because she would always accept, she would take on more and take on more and take on more. And I told her during that speech, I said, no is a complete sentence. And so I don't have a problem saying no. And it has helped me not have to, it's helped me, my mental health by saying no. So where I understand, make it a better yes, that is also healthy. However, for me, if I know that I'm being taken on too many projects or I'm overwhelmed, I'm going to tell you no. And I'm going to tell you no, I'll explain it to you. I just can't, one of the things that my wife and I are sticklers about is getting our kids down for nap and bedtime and rest. You can call me at night if it's work related, from 8:00 p.m. to whatever makes your heart content. But by the time when I shut it down about 5:30, 6 o'clock to 7:30, 7:45, we're with the kids, and the kids' bedtimes at 7 o'clock. That we're doing bath, bed, and books at 7 o'clock. On the weekend, Saturday, some of you saw my son. He is a natural born leader. Why I let him even participate on even getting his face on here. And I don't just say that because he's my son. He's 3 years old, and he is the smartest kid I have ever met. We don't talk baby talk around the house, and I know I'm kind of getting off track, but I'm talking about his leadership skills even at 3 years old. But me saying no these days has to do with the kids. He's up at 7 o'clock like clockwork. And on the weekends, nap time, we keep him on schedule with his school. So 11:30 is lunch, 12:15, he's going down for nap. And so the reason I say no these days really has a lot to do with family and the kids, because we keep them on schedule. You're not gonna get me to make it a better yes to sacrifice the rest that my kids need and what we're trying to ingrain in them. So these days it's easy for me to say no because I got them, and not to say use the kids as an excuse, but we're trying to keep them focused and keep them healthy and on task. So yeah, no is not a hard thing for me these days.
That's good stuff. Yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly good to know that no is a complete sentence. My mom used to tell me no is not a bad word. So, there are a lot of bad words out there, and no is not one of those. So, but on the flip side of that, these organizations are extremely important for our personal development as attorneys. Actually, I know when I was in the Hillsborough County Bar Leadership Program that a lot of my colleagues in that program actually switched jobs. And, I kind of halfway during the program, I realized what was going on. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. But it was just because of the level of networking that we had with each other. You had maybe 30, 35, remind me if I'm getting this number wrong, Amanda, attorneys who were just interacting with each other on a consistent basis and just had that opportunity. So Amanda, I'm going to throw this one to you in terms of helping you with your development as an attorney, advancing your career. Have you had any opportunities because of your leadership positions or involvement in any of these associations?
Sorry, I don't use Zoom that often, as you can tell.
Yeah.
So actually, yes, I've been really fortunate through my bar involvement. One of the reasons why I'm at my firm now, I started in April of 2021, and my firm knew of my involvement with the 8CBA, and that was one of the main reasons why they wanted me to join the firm. They said it makes the firm look good to have somebody who is so involved, who cares so much about the community. And me making a name for myself also makes a name for the firm. So I'm very fortunate that they're willing to help me do pretty much anything I want to do. I tell them I want to join X, Y, and Z. I don't have to explain myself. And it's helped me to meet so many people that, people like today, meeting Keith and Darren, seeing Gio again. You meet so many good people, and you learn so much from everybody, but it's definitely helped me in my career to be where I am today.
Thank you. And I agree. I, as part of my many different roads that led me here, I did work for Stetson in their career development office. And one of the things that we would tell the students while I was there is networking and just being involved in these bar associations or really any type of organization, it just puts you kind of in a spotlight. And so you get the opportunity not only to serve, but people see you when you develop relationships. And so when it comes to trying to navigate that career path, or switch it up from one place to another, it just becomes immensely helpful. Gio, have you had any type of experience with that, or anything else that you want to chime in here? And then Keith and Darren, if you guys want to go after as well, if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to share. I'm in my current position now, kind of like Amanda, because of involvement. My present boss, I met him at the Federal Bar Association mentorship kickoff happy hour. And what was funny is, when I met him, I was like, God, like this is a good guy. He would be a really great mentor. Man, kind of be neat to work for him one day. And a few months later, I wasn't looking for to make a change from where I was at the moment. But I guess I stuck out to him as well in that moment. There was a connection of some kind, and he reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in hearing him out about an opportunity. Like, okay, I'll hear you out. And it ended up working out. And I think working out well. And So yes, that job opportunities are absolutely there, but I think the biggest part of being involved are the relationships, like you said, Jamila, the relationships that you develop, the friendships. I've loved getting to get to know Amanda through bar service. And Darren, you were here last year, I believe. I enjoyed getting to know you through serving on here. The people that you meet, most of them are also very motivated and have similar passions, and then when you're doing something, they're also great people to just reach out to, whether that be bounce ideas off of or to navigate personal issues that come up when you're a lawyer, just to commiserate about certain things. So I think the relationship building is wonderful. And one last thing I'll say, and then I'll shut up. It's funny that now a lot of my colleagues at my firm, they see me as this networking guy. And I never felt like I was a natural networker. I just never felt that. I was always very uncomfortable going into a big room of people and starting that conversation. But it's a skill, I think, that you develop over time, and you just kind of keep on going and keep on working with it. And before you know it, you do know a lot of people in the room, and then you just feel like you're at home and you're comfortable. Or when you go into that room that has no one you know in it, you realize, oh, they probably also don't know anybody, and I'm just gonna go introduce myself and say, hey. So the skill building, I think, is also just a wonderful opportunity through these organizations.
Anybody else want to jump in, Keith or Darren? No. I just tend to agree with what Gio has said. Sometimes it could be a little bit intimidating walking into that room and you don't know anyone. But trust me, there are people in there who are going to be welcoming you and waiting for you to have that conversation. And who knows, it might turn out to be the person who helps you get your next job opportunity, or ends up being that partner when you go out on your own. You just never know. So I'd
like to chime in, Jamila,
yeah,
if you don't mind. And then I think it would be a good time to take a break, since we kind of wrapped up that last question. Unless you wanted to add something once I'm done.
No, you can jump in.
Thank you. First, we have these Cooley students here, so they know that name DeBose. That is not a coincidence. That is Renelia DeBose's brother-in-law that you probably heard a whole lot about. So
probably the subject of some of your law school exams and some of fact patterns. So
yeah, and it's a small world. Actually, Keith knows my my husband and his family, the Hardricks Humphreys in Sarasota.
Yeah,
yeah. My grandfather-in-law was the president of the NAACP. He helped desegregate the beaches in Sarasota.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and there was just a group of families everyone knew, and it was the Humphreys and the DeBoses.
Yeah.
It is a small world.
You
never know who you know. So keep, even if you, like they've been saying, you walk into these rooms and you feel like you don't know anyone, it can be intimidating. I bet there's someone you know. There's a 6 degree separation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and especially for people like a lot of us, first generation lawyers, right? We really are figuring this stuff out as we go along. What I found, especially because, we're a diversity, inclusion, equity, access, leadership service program. A lot of us are first generation lawyers. A lot of us will go into rooms where we may be the only or the first of our group, whatever your group is, even if we still haven't first women in some of these things, right? First person is openly LGBTQ, first Black person, first Hispanic person, first someone who, is a foreigner, maybe grew up somewhere else, etc. And being involved in these associations means you're less lonely when you go into these rooms, when you go into court, when you go into the meetings, right? Because I'm not from here either. I moved here from New York. I didn't know anything about Florida. I didn't even know what a Seminole was. I went to FSU. People like, you're gonna be a Seminole. I had no idea what they were talking about. I'm like, I'm going to law school. That's all that matters. Like, that's how clueless I was. And so I was very intentional about joining these organizations and overcoming my shyness and my fear. And now, man, you go anywhere and you mention my name, somebody's going to have some connection to me or the program or something. And so I just really want to encourage you guys to consider that as another benefit. Less loneliness when you walk into rooms. Because let me tell you, it gets lonely. I've been to courthouses in Pasco, Pinellas, Polk, Jacksonville, Orlando, Kissimmee, and I walk in and I'm the only woman, the only Black person. I'm questioned about whether I get to be there. I wrote a whole article about that, right? You don't look like a lawyer, so people assume you're not a lawyer. I was young also, like a lot of you, right? I looked a lot younger. Even though I had a suit and I had my file and I had all the bar card. And then so what helps is, okay, I walk into the courtroom, oh, I know that guy, oh, that person's on that bar, and then that kind of just helps with that. Yeah. So another great benefit. And so we'll take a break, and I really want to encourage our students to have some questions ready. And I will share a list with you guys. There are like over 50 bar associations that you can participate in from the Tampa Bay area. There's so many. So, think about what questions you have. If they have recommendations for a particular bar association, think about things like the size of the bar association, right? Should you start with the big bar? Should you start with the mini bar? Should you start with the local one? Should you do an affinity group? So we've all realized we can't do too much. How do we pick which one we want to do? Things like that, because you guys like to be quiet and they want to hear from you guys too. And maybe we'll have you introduce yourself a little bit so everybody gets to know each other. And these are great people. You'll email them, they'll email you back. You ask for something. Darren had an awesome conversation with a couple of our students last year. I mean, they just sung his praises. Gio, the same thing, the nicest person you'll meet. You see him anywhere and you recognize him and you say hi, or you say during the Esquire, you have a best friend for life. So just think about those things. And do you want to say anything, Jamila, before we go on the break?
No, but actually, yeah, real quick. This is just to piggyback off of what you were saying. So you guys know I do some criminal defense, not a whole lot. That was actually what you just stated, Jocelyn. It was one of my social media posts because I saw Darren in a courtroom and I met him through, I want to say it was either Clearwater or Menace, one of those two bar associations. And I was all the way up in Pasco, all by my little lonely self. And I saw him. I was so glad to see him. And I took a picture. I was like, always great to see a face, in a courtroom that you don't usually go to. So, I mean, these things happen. It is so true, and I'll just shut up and we can go on break.
All right, so I'm going to put on the little music, step away from your desk, stretch a little bit, kiss the kiddos, and we'll be back in 10 minutes.
All right.
Okay, let's let everybody join back and I'll pass the mic back to Jamila. You ready?
I am here and awesome. Well, welcome back, everyone. So we are really wanting to go into the Q&A section. I think we just have one more question, but I hope you guys have been getting some really good content out of this and just kind of see the heart and the passion that our speakers today have for students like yourself, right? So, I mean, we're basically here for you guys. So, all right. So I just want to, I always think back and, hindsight is just, as they say, 2020 always perfect, right? The things that I wish that I knew maybe when I was sitting in your shoes, and hopefully you would take these little bits of advice, because sometimes people say things and you're like, whatever, but really take them to heart. So two things I want to ask the panelists here. Just one, if you think back on your journey as a leader, we all need people who are there to support us. We all need people who would, quote unquote, say our name in the room, because we're not always in that room when we need our name to be spoken. We need people to speak up for us. If you can think back in your journey professionally or even through these different organizations, was there someone who did that for you? And then that's part A. So part B of that question would just be to give some final advice to these 2Ls about leadership and about getting involved. And if you think back to your 2L self, what is it that you wish that you knew or had maybe done differently, having gone through and finding yourself where you are today? What is it that you wish you knew? So two-part question. I'll start with you, Amanda, if that's okay. Just, can you think of anyone who was really instrumental in terms of your leadership, getting you to where you are? And then what advice would you give to these students?
Sure. So the person that's been kind of instrumental in my decision to join the HCBA and get as involved as I have been is John Jaffino. He's a partner at Gunster. He's been my mentor for probably the last 6 or 7 years. Just a well-respected attorney in the legal community, but just the nicest, most humble person I've ever met in my entire life. You'd never know that when he was president of the HCBA, never would have known. He's just the nicest guy. And I always strive to be like him as much as I can be, as far as just being humble and giving back to the community as much as he does. And advice I'd give my 2L self, I would say to have a little more confidence in myself, have more confidence in yourself. When I first graduated law school, I was very timid, kind of, when I walk into these rooms, kind of nervous to talk to anybody. And now, like we discussed earlier, I'll walk up to random people and just start a conversation with them. And like Gio said, it's part of just kind of pushing yourself. And everyone at my firm thinks I'm the friendliest person, and I'm not shy at all, but that's something I've had to work on over the years. So I think just have confidence in yourself, and you've made it this far through law school. Some of you guys are taking the bar exam soon. You're going to be out in the real world soon being a lawyer. So believe in yourself and shoot for the stars. You don't know what you'll be able to accomplish.
Yeah, that's good. Hopefully we get John on here sometime. I think he did a podcast, but John, I don't know who John is not a mentor to. John is definitely one of my mentors as well. Okay, so we'll do Gio, Darren, and Keith. Last responses.
Okay, I guess we'll go in that order.
Yeah, or not.
Yeah, no, that works. I just wasn't sure. John Jaffino is also my mentor. I got to start my career working with him, first at Burn Foreman and then Gunster, and he was my assigned mentor. And yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Amanda. He's a great guy to model yourself after, and just really humble and a wonderful person. The person I'd like to mention is outside of the legal world. It's my father. He's an immigrant, came to this country not knowing any English. He has taught me grit. He's taught me about giving back. And while it's not directly related to, like, his path isn't the same as mine, those are all qualities that he's taught me, and that I've been able to utilize in my legal profession. And so I think to that, mentors come in all forms and fashions. I think it's good to have mentors and people you can speak to within the legal profession because they can understand it. But it's also good to have folks outside of it, because we are all lawyers, or we're future lawyers, but we're also people, right? And having someone to help guide you and navigate both your personal and professional lives is, I think, really important, to get different perspectives. And as far as what I tell myself, I think I said this last time, but you're gonna make a mistake, and it's okay. It's okay. Just start processing that now. Take a deep breath, and don't be afraid of it. Right? Don't be afraid of those mistakes, because you'll learn from them, and it's expected. And when it happens, have grace with yourself, and make sure that it propels you forward to do better. Right? See it as a learning opportunity to do better. The second thing I'd say is kind of the same as Amanda. Like, put yourself out there. Put yourself out there. If you're not doing that, I initially was waiting for opportunities to come to me. And then I realized I just needed to let people know I was interested in those opportunities. And some of those didn't pan out, and that's okay. It's fine. Another door opens when one is shut. And so continue to put yourself out there. And eventually you'll find your way and your path. And lastly, sort of something I've already said, but you have something to offer. You are beautiful, you are unique, you are intelligent, you have gifts and talents that no one else in this Zoom meeting right now has. And when you're volunteering for these opportunities, just know that you have something to give. And you only know what those things are, but people can benefit from those. So don't be afraid of that.
Awesome stuff. Darren?
The person that is most instrumental to me, my 7th grade reading teacher. When I was in middle school, I put myself in advanced reading. The reason I put myself in advanced reading is because I didn't want to be another dumb Black athlete. And all of my white friends were in advanced reading. Their parents were doctors, lawyers. I don't even think I knew what a lawyer was in 7th grade. And I put myself in the advanced reading, and it was a new teacher to our school. She had come down from Connecticut. She was a Black woman. As they say, education is better up north. I don't know, but I'm just, that's what they say. She had us all read one day in class and going around, and then after class, she held me back. She said, Darren, I need you to stay after class. And she says, you shouldn't be in this class, but I'm not going to kick you out. She said, I want you to read a newspaper every day. And from that day, excluding this morning, because I haven't had a chance yet, I've read a newspaper every single day. Whether it be, I prefer a whole handheld, the old crinkly newspaper, but even if it's online, she knows the impact that she's had in my life, because I've recently reached out to her family, So yeah, my 7th grade reading teacher, I wouldn't be an attorney given, especially with, you know, having to read so much. And now I enjoy reading. I don't know. I enjoy reading contracts, whatever it is. If you go get a cell phone, I'm the person that goes and gets a new cell phone, and the salesman's trying to get you to sign. You sign here. This says this, and I'm like, you can walk away. I'm going to read this whole. You walk away. I'm going to read it all. Advice to my 2L self: take your path seriously. I did not take it seriously. I didn't have a traditional law school career. I was not at law school 2nd semester, 2nd year. So that would have been spring. Summer I missed. And then I came back and started clerking with an entertainment law firm in Houston. So I was getting full-time credit those semesters that I was away, and I was also working, but I just was not at school. I hated school. I didn't want to be in school. I wanted to find a hustle that would allow me to get my law degree and get out and take the bar. And so I wasn't at school, but I was still getting full-time credit through through externships, internships, working and getting paid and actually doing things that a lawyer does. Take your path very seriously. Have patience. Have patience. The last thing I'll say is John Shafino is not a mentor of mine, but I know John, and he and I actually served on he was vice chair the same 2 years that I was vice chair with the big bar, the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. So I know John very well. Contact us if y'all have questions. We're here for y'all. I will go ahead and jump on board, and I will not say no to you all. I will make it a yes. It may be a yes at a different time, but I just want to be clear. Y'all aren't going to get a no from me. That's why I'm here. So reach out, call me. Jamila knows. Do not text me. I hate text, and I'm usually in my car. Like it's not uncommon for me to start my morning out in Bartow at 8 o'clock and leave Bartow headed to Citrus County or to West Palm Beach. I practice across the state and beyond. So please reach out. You're not bothering me. You know that I'm putting the kids down from 7 to 7:30, so you're not going to catch me then. But please reach out. I'm sincere in that. Whatever the question may be, I don't care if it's law related, test related, bar related, life in general. You know what? You realize that you don't want to be an attorney. So I didn't start out practicing law. I didn't start practicing law until 8 years after I graduated. I did some other things before then. So I have a very, we all have a unique story, but mine is a lot different in that I didn't immediately start practicing law. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Darren. And last but not least, Keith.
My kind of getting me in the bar service, getting me to be a lawyer is going to be my mom and dad. They had me late in life. I like to tell people I'm the reason my parents stopped drinking. I was that last reason they shouldn't have been drinking or whatever. And it wasn't common to have kids late in life back then. But they were always there to support me. So being involved, being around, being supportive was that's all I knew. So they gave me that example, just to be around and be supportive, getting involved, caring about, family first, and making that a priority. So, and it was my mom who, my mom and dad were my biggest cheerleaders. My mom, actually introduced me. She cleaned houses, and in the summer I wound up mowing the yards of some of the places where she worked just to earn some money. And before I went to law school, there was a lady she worked with and had become friends with, and she would get every newspaper clipping from me doing stuff in high school or whether it was in college. I had the opportunity to play defensive back at Duke, and so if I, in the off chance that we won a game or did something well, because Duke football wasn't a powerhouse, so in the off chance we did something, there was a clipping, and the lady would have it up at the house, and she said, you know what, you need to talk to Keith and tell him to talk to Lamar Matthews. And Lamar Matthews was a senior partner at that time, was Matthews Hutton and Eastmore. And so I was like, Mom, I'm getting ready to go to law school. What am I going to talk to this guy about? I mean, he can't give me a job doing anything. I'm, whatever, So she's like, look, just go talk to him. She had built me up, and I went and talked to him. There's not much I can do for you, Keith, not a lawyer, but what I can do is, you can offer you a job in the mailroom. And back then they were actually getting mail as opposed to email, and people actually use the post office. So, I worked there that summer before I started law school, just going to check the mail, making copies, just like Darren. I knew what a lawyer was, but I really didn't know what they did. And I certainly didn't know, I'd never been in a law firm, So that experience of just being around what a lawyer was, okay, this is kind of cool. I might be, this might be something I'm trying to do, And so I started law school, and I came back. I got a call over Christmas, and Lamar called me and said, hey, Keith, if you don't have anything over the summer, why don't you come in and see what you can do for us? So at the first year, after my first year of law school, I had a job. I was shepherdizing cases. I was making copies. I would go to a hearing here or there. I would write a small memo or something, just whatever I was capable of doing. Before I left, they said, hey, after you get done in second year, come on back. So, I started, every year I was doing more and more. And before I started my third year, I had a job. It offered me a job. So, people were scrambling around looking for jobs. I already knew what I was doing when I started my third year, and so, and that framework and ground foundation was laid by my mom and dad, just being there, pumping me up, being that person in the room when I wasn't there. And that was just them being what they, and that's kind of my example of why I try to do. Everywhere I go, I pump up my kids. They're like Darren, they're the best, and there's nothing anybody else can say differently to me. The legal profession, Judge Williams, he was actually the first Black judge appointed by Governor Lawton Childs. He was appointed circuit judge in Sarasota, and had a practice in criminal law prior to that. And so when I came to practice, he kind of put me under his wing and just kind of gave me the ins and ways to go around things, and just got me involved more in the bar, and was there to give me advice. And I really appreciate what he did to kind of help move me along in my path toward leadership. My buddy Scott, he was there. He and I worked kind of together, and he encouraged, just being involved, and I would tell my 2L self a couple things. In fact, I told a 2L this the other day. One is just business development. They don't teach you in law school about how to develop a practice. And part of that is just about how you network and build the relationships that Gio talked about. Whether it's social media, whether it's getting out speaking, whether it's whatever it is, bar leadership, bar participation. They don't talk about how you build a practice. They teach you the part when the case comes in the door and how to find the legal issues and spot legal issues, but they don't talk to you about how to get that case in the door. So like Darren has said, and like, people have put in the chat, talk to us about that, ask us questions about what it means to be a lawyer, in the business of being a lawyer. Because there's no reason why you as a 2L should have, and you have these individuals here who, and we got that commitment from Darren today. He's not going to say no, not going to say no to you guys to questions about anything. We're not going to be at too much help with the substance of it, but definitely running our own practice and building a practice is something, we all will try to share with you in ways to, potholes to avoid and things like that. And like I said, I was talking to a young man, we were thinking about hiring for the summer, and I asked him, what's your social media profile? What are you doing? How do you network? What do you do? So he told me a couple things that he did. I said, look, you need to take advantage of those networks and and really pump up who you are, because those are going to be your client referrals in the next 3 to 5 years or 10 years or whatever it is. And then just from an involvement standpoint, I would just tell you never underestimate how much people are looking at you and looking for you for guidance as a model, as an example, because they're looking at you, and so you have to be always conscious of that, and don't underestimate it, and don't shirk that responsibility, because you're not here just because you're not talented. You're not here today because you're not committed. You're not here because you're not seeking knowledge or trying to find, kind of that way to be more successful than the next person. So just be cognizant of that as you move through and develop your practice. So, and I appreciate you guys for having me and listening.
Awesome. Wow. That's awesome. You guys, I hope you guys are just like soaking this up. Soak it up. All right. So I'm going to quickly move to the Q&A.
You forgot Amanda, I believe.
I think Amanda, didn't I get you first?
Yes, I went first. Thank you,
Oh,
Darren.
I'm sorry. I saw her face. Okay.
I've been having her go first a lot because I said ladies first, but I appreciate you. Good looking out. All right, so we're gonna move quickly just to the Q&A section because Jessica sent me a little chat saying that she had a question. She's gonna have to log off shortly, so I want to give you the opportunity to get that out to our panelists before you have to go.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank just everybody. It is true, all of these panels are really energizing, and a lot of good stuff's been thrown out there that I've been trying to take notes and remember everything you're saying, so I appreciate it. I think everything you said really speaks to this idea of like finding balance between service and community involvement. But I was wondering if you could speak a little bit more to when you're involved in organizations, you take leadership roles, like what does that look like in a day-to-day sense? So when you're involved in the organization, are you planning events? Is it about like networking? Like what is your time being spent doing in that setting? And then how do you feel like and why are you making that decision? Is it because you enjoy connecting with people and find joy and energy in giving back in that way? Or is it more mission oriented where the organization is trying to raise awareness about a cause you feel passionate about? If you could speak anything to that, that would be wonderful. Because as I think about my future practice and kind of how I want to make choices about my time, I just think it'd be interesting to know what your experiences are.
Well, I'll just hop
Yeah, I'm sorry. On mute, I said Gio. Did you want to take that one? So go for it.
Well, Jessica, I appreciate this question because sometimes I would get involved in a committee and not really know what they did exactly. So I'm going to give you a lawyery answer, and it depends. I will say a lot of the committees are involved in planning some sort of event at some point. That's whether that be an educational event or a social event. And some committees are involved in like the diversity committee. They'll obviously put on events geared towards the topic and promoting diversity and inclusion. The YLD, a lot of their events are, there's community service events, but there's also social hours. And so there's lots of event planning. There are also those committees though that are in the background and do some nitty gritty work, like policies. I've never been involved in one of those though. I tend to find myself wanting to be more involved in the event planning aspect. So that's why it depends, right? And I think the best way to find out though is if you see something that interests you, ask about it. Ask someone on the committee or ask the chair that's serving at that time. Like, what does it look like? I'm interested. And being interested doesn't mean that you're committing, right? You just want to get more information. And I think most people will be willing to give that to you if you just ask.
I'll just piggyback on what Gio said. You asked what it looks like on a day-to-day basis. it's going to depend on what's going on with that particular committee. It will be a particular fundraising events, for instance, that they're putting on. So you may be involved, and it won't be every day. This could be something that maybe once a week, or prior to once every other month, that you're getting involved with doing something and just making sure that particular task you're assigned to is taken care of. You could be responsible for getting sponsors, and it may take you, depending on how successful you are in getting people to say yes to sponsor, you may be able to get that done in a couple of days. So I don't think it's when you join a committee that you have to say, I'm gonna have to block out X amount of days per day to do it. It's going to really depend on what level of involvement you're in. For the diversity committee, we have programs with the Law Academy at Booker High School. So that may involve working with them on their trial team. It may involve going to speak with them and just talk with them about what you do on a daily basis. So it's going to really depend on what level your involvement is, and also what that committee has going on. So I don't know that there's a hard and fast rule to say, when I get involved in a committee, I'm going to have to devote 2 hours a week to this particular committee. It could be writing an article, responding to an event. We had, particularly after George Floyd, we had some issues come up within the Bar Association on, what position we would take and how we could, how we were going to respond. We had several town hall meetings, so various lawyers had to come up with questions that would be asked during those town hall meetings, and then formulate responses to questions that were in the chat. So it really depends on what's going on in that particular bar committee.
I agree. I don't know if anybody else wants to chime in. Amanda, I'm sorry, Jessica, I know you have to hop off, but I would also just say that, when you're thinking, let's say you just kind of want to get your feet wet in whatever organization. Every organization tends to have like a holiday party or a banquet or something, and that's just like a one-off event. And that way, you get in, but my time is going to be spent from maybe a couple months before this date, and that's what you do basically for the year. But you have the opportunity to meet people, work very closely in a committee that is valued for that organization. So you also kind of get your face out there and your name out there in case you do want to do something else and maybe get on a board, or just dig a little bit deeper in that organization. So I hope that helped.
I have one thing to add. The size of the organization makes a difference. So HCBA has full-time staff. They're the only ones I know. Those staff members are doing a bunch of work, and they have like 50 committees. So every individual person is not doing a huge lift. But I'm also been involved with like Fred G. Minnis, much smaller, maybe 5, 6 board members, no staff, right? So that means those 5 people are doing a heavy lift. So if you're wanting to just kind of ease in a little bit, go to like a bigger bar and volunteer for a committee. That way, you have a small commitment. If you're like, no, I want to get my feet wet, get my hands dirty, join a smaller one, and then you'll get a lot of responsibility early. So that's another thing to consider.
If I may, Jamila, I'm trying to frantically search for it now before Jessica jumps off. For the students, Clearwater Bar Association, CBA, please remember or write that down. Clearwater Bar Association, they are planning right now for their 82nd Oyster Roast. I used to be on the board of directors for Oyster Roast. As a law student, if I'm not mistaken, you have you can free membership for law students. The Oyster Roast is an event that statewide attorneys from top of the state to the bottom of the state try to get to. It is the signature event for the Clearwater Bar Association. When I tell you it is attended by 600 to 800 people, 600, 800 people, I'm not minimizing that at all. It's outdoors. It's and I get COVID, and so I probably won't be there this year. even though things are turning around. But it is Saturday, March 26th, at the grounds of Florin Robig. Professor Hardrick and Jamila, I will send you all one of the flyers to it. You can disseminate it to the students. Be a student volunteer. It is the biggest food smorgasbord that you will see. Many attorneys, they have like different law firms sponsor different eating stations, barbecue, dessert, chili cook-off, seafood, you name it. So volunteer for the oyster roast. I can't put you on to a bigger, more impactful event. So I'm going to send this out. I'm doing it right now, actually, and get in touch with the executive director, Teresa, and tell her I told you that I directed you to contact her concerning volunteering with the oyster roast.
Thank you, Darren.
Sorry, just want to jump in on that.
Thank you. No, thank you. So I'm going to ask our panel members to put their information in the chat. And for the law students, please take advantage of this. You know, these are seasoned attorneys, partners, and just people that are willing to take you under their wing and answer a question, or, you know, meet with you for lunch or just whatever. So the floor is open for questions. I'm just gonna wait to see if anybody has any additional questions. Yeah, David, I see your hand.
Oh.
One sec, Sheena. Or David, do you want to let ladies go first?
Oh no, ladies go first, of course.
All right, Sheena, looks like you have the floor.
Thank you. So I want to say thank you for coming and sharing. This is very, very important to me because like Professor Hardrick, I'm not from Florida. So one of the first things that I did do when I got down here was join the Hillsborough County Bar Association. But I don't know if it did me any good because COVID came and then everything just was like shut down, but I still was a part. But one of the challenges that I'm having is I had signed up to be a part of the 4K run committee. And I showed up to every meeting and I kind of like volunteered to be like this liaison between the committee and Cooley. But at the same point in time, I felt like I was excluded. I felt like, you know, so it kind of turned me off from like going to the meetings because it seemed like everybody knew everybody. And I guess my question more so is how, because I do go to these events and I go alone and, you know, I'll walk up to somebody and introduce myself, but I just don't really know how to like really connect and like get involved. And then I don't want to extend myself too far out there either. So I don't know if you could like just give me some advice on like how not to be like an invisible connection, because that's how I feel.
That's a great question, Sheena. Who wants to volunteer to respond to that one? Any ideas?
I don't mind taking the lead on that one, actually. So I kind of had a similar experience as you, Sheena, when I first moved here. You know, it's kind of scary going to these events, and it does seem like everybody knows each other, which is kind of disheartening because I personally didn't like walking up to a group of 5 people who are engrossed in their own conversation and then kind of just being like, hello, hi, I'm Amanda, nice to meet you. It's not a good feeling, but you now know, at least Gio and I and Jamila, we're all HCBA members. I'm at pretty much every single event. And like I said, I'm on the board. I do work with the people who do the pro bono 5K and the food festival. So if you're ever having problems, you know, maybe you're not being heard on your committee, you can always reach out to other board members and just kind of voice your frustration. There are also board liaisons who you can talk to, who can kind of say, guys, you know, Sheena's not being involved. She's expressed an interest. Let's make sure to get her involved. And now that I know, if you're still on the committee, I'm happy to reach out and kind of help you out. And if you go to the food festival, look for me. I'm 4'9", kind of hard to spot in crowds, but if you ever see me at an event, I'm happy to introduce you to people. And I think pretty much everyone on this panel, you see us at an event, we'd be happy to, kind of have you by our side and take you around to meet people. But I just keep going to the events. I felt very disheartened the first maybe 3 events I went to until I found some other person who was also kind of off on the side, another wallflower. And we kind of started our own little tag team. And once you just keep going, people keep seeing your face. Someone will say, hey, I saw you at the holiday open house. How are you? We haven't formally met. So I would just encourage you to keep going. Don't be disheartened. And if you're feeling like you're unheard, speak up. That's part of being a lawyer, is you're the voice of your client, be your own voice. So I would just say, like I said, reach out to me. I'm happy to make sure that your skills are being utilized, because that's not okay that you're not being heard. But look for familiar faces, and I think we'll all introduce you to people. And once you get that connection, you'll probably be overwhelmed by the amount of people approaching you at events soon.
Awesome. Thank you. So Sheena, you now have like a direct connection. So the next time we hear from you, you'll be begging to get a break from these committees, because I'm pretty sure when Amanda spots you at the 5K, she'll make sure that you're well utilized. David, did anybody else want to chime into that? I feel like that was just such a perfect.
It was perfect.
Thank
It was
you.
perfect answer.
All right. And Amanda's information is going to be in the chat, Sheena. So it's going to be on you to make sure that you reach out and make that connection. David.
Thank you. And again, just thank you to everyone for dedicating the time to speak to us on a Saturday morning. I'm sure there's better things that you'd rather do. And thank you to Jocelyn for creating this amazing program. She is Superwoman. So I'm not in any associations, and I'm a 3L. So I was wondering, is it too late for me to get involved now? Or if it's not too late, where do I start? Because there's literally so many associations to get involved in. I feel like I just don't know how to navigate it and start and branch out from there.
I'd say it's never too late. You definitely, you could always find a spot to get in that someone will be able to use your talents. I think, you just have to pick the area where you hope to practice, an area, talk to anyone here, they can get you involved in one of the local associations. And so, no, to answer that question, that's an easy question to answer on my part, is just, no, it's not too late. You haven't missed a bus. It's still waiting at the station, waiting for you to get on and do some work. And just picking what your passion is, man. Think about what you really like to do, what you have fun doing, and what you really feel like your purpose is, and jump in it, both feet, and go for it. So.
Ms. Little, real quick, does any of the students have any desire to go into litigation or be in the courtroom at all? If so, just Ms. Sheena, okay. The rest of you, do you know what you want to do as it relates to practice?
I see myself in a courtroom, not frequently, but I see myself in a courtroom.
Okay. And the reason I ask is, so if y'all are interested in going to court or anything like that, by all means, give me a call. I think Gio I heard he's in trial right now. Probably federal trial. So don't hesitate if that's something that I'm in court almost every day. If y'all want to tag along, meet me at court, whatever. If y'all are in Hillsborough or Bartow or Citrus, Pinellas, whatever, just let me know.
Thank you, Darren. Yeah, David, I would just kind of piggyback on what Keith has already said. It's not too late. There are attorneys out there who just never had the opportunity or choose not to participate in any of these VBAs. And so as a student, you're certainly, I would still say, early to the party, but you want to get your feet wet in there so that when you actually become an attorney, you already have an in and you have your little tribe of people and you can navigate those waters. Do we have any other questions from any of the other students? We're getting ready to wrap up, but definitely want to make sure that your questions are answered and let our.
I had a couple of comments.
Oh, you did? Oh,
yeah, because I know David wants to practice like a lot of people. They're here in Tampa Bay for school, but they want to practice somewhere else in Florida. And a lot of people are still using Zoom. So don't be afraid to join a bar association in the area you know you're going to move to, because there's probably going to be a couple of Zoom events. And you can use Zoom. People get used to seeing your face. You can write in the comments. And don't be afraid to join the local ones because you know you're leaving, because I trust you. Trust me, everybody know everybody, right? There's 100,000 lawyers in Florida, but everyone who does intellectual property, they joined the association, they know each other. A lot of lawyers went to the same law school. They're in the same associations. They go to these conferences and things, right? They went to the same, even high schools and what have you. People are really connected to one another. The point is just to start. And I just wanted to point out that Leah put in the chat, she's interested in personal injury and trust and estate law. So definitely personal injury, there's lots of opportunity to join bars, to learn all the ins and outs about personal injury, how to get clients, all the ethical stuff. And if you want to make a lot of money, that's the way to do it. So, yeah. Lots of people you can mirror, lots of trials you can sit in on. And then, by the way, you all can, court is still open to the public, even if it's on Zoom. You just have to get the Zoom link and you can just watch it, in the background. But yeah, don't let the idea that, whether it's COVID or other situations, like I'm pregnant right now, so I stay home, but if there's a Zoom thing, I'm there. So, try to take advantage of it as long as it's around, because it's really providing a lot of access right now. I think those were my 2 cents, and I want to thank the panelists too. This was awesome as usual. And they really mean it. Reach out to them. We always have to reiterate that, because I know some people say, I didn't want to bother you. And I'm like, I wouldn't have said, reach out to me. I thought you were bothering me. If someone's going to bother me, I'd much rather be a student than, some administrator somewhere or IRS or whoever else is calling and bothering me. Right. So we really mean it when we say that. And make sure I will share the contact information by email, but make sure to reach out even just to say thank you. And and here's another thing I had to get over, you reintroduce yourself to someone, they don't remember you. Don't take it personally. We're meeting people all the time. Just say, oh, I was enjoying the Esquire talk, and they'll remember right away and it'll be fine, right? So don't be afraid of that either. If you once you start seeing people in person.
Yep. Well, I just, doesn't look like we have any more questions. So we can go ahead and wrap up. Just want to say a heartfelt thank you to all the panelists who came out this morning. I deeply appreciate you guys coming out and just giving your time. I think we had some really good key phrases that we could walk away with, make it a better yes. No is a complete sentence. No is not a bad word. You guys, Darren mentioned the oyster roast for CBA coming up. So please look into that if you guys can make it. So Amanda, Darren, Gio, and Keith, thank you so much for being on today. You are now friends of, some new friends, old friends of Journey to Esquire. And we certainly look forward to maybe having you on again, or maybe doing a podcast or something in the future. Students, you now have some more people that you can reach out to. Your network has been increased today, so you're welcome. So thanks again, everyone, and have a great rest of your weekend. I don't know if Jocelyn, you have words. Bye, Kingsley.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Make sure you do your reflections on Thinkific and start thinking about your final presentations. The new date is April 16th, so remember that. we're trying to arrange to have your, our guests can leave, by the way. This is just technical stuff for the students. We are trying to do, thank you. Bye, Keith. Say hi to Renalia. We are trying to do pre-recorded presentations so that, because COVID numbers are up and down and all around, everyone keeps changing all their standards, and we're like, let's just make this one smooth transition. So please look out for the emails of those dates. We'll circulate some in March once the bar papers are, get a little break, where we'll pre-record your 5-minute presentation, but we'll show it live, and then your family and friends can join by Zoom, etc. And we're tossing around ideas, trying to not make it last minute. And we're also looking for keynote speakers. So anyone knows any good keynote speakers, make sure you send them our way. All righty, enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye, Gio. Thank you.
Oh, hey, Jocelyn, before you go, so the guy was trying to reach out to, I was actually trying to have him join. He was like, nah. He was like, no, I don't think I can join. I'm like, that's fine, no worries. But he was interested in linking some, he works with a lot of youth, and he was interested in kind of linking some of the boys that he had in middle school for the competition.
Okay.
If that's okay, and we're extended past February. What's our new deadline gonna be?
Probably the end. I might extend it another week, only because it takes time to read them. We don't have a lot, so we won't need that much time. But yeah, maybe even the end of the month, February 28th, probably still be enough time, because we'd announce it for April 16th and mail out their gift cards. So I'll update that once the deadline. I'll see how many people we get by the deadline, and then kind of announce that it's been extended. Because I've been sending it through like the internal school system flyers, and I reached out to every contact some people gave me, and I don't know what's going on, if the teachers are just overwhelmed, or because I'm like, if I see money.
You've been sending to these schools, that way I could just forward it to him.
Yeah, it's a flyer. I'll just send the flyer and the link.
Yeah, and I'll just talk to him today, and he probably would have some people. He was excited, like about the the competition. He was like, yeah, can we get some of these men on your program? I was like, well, it's actually
I know,
but
I get a lot of emails of people trying to get in. I'm like, it's for law, it's a small program.
I'm like, if they go to law school, but
yeah. I don't know if people have trouble accessing. I haven't seen any emails like, oh, I tried to access and can't get it, or if it's too complicated, or because when they did a high school one, they had like hundreds of submissions, and I'm just like, what am I missing?
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe because it's middle school.
Maybe these middle school kids, but he said he would definitely take it in and get some people on there. So I'll send it to him.
Okay, I'll send that to you right now, and I'm gonna forward what Darren sent for the oyster thing right now. Okay. And great panel as usual. Thank you so much for your work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And your efforts.
We're supposed to have one more who didn't show up, but I'll tap her next time.
Yeah, I think it was a good amount. Once you start getting too many people. Yeah,
I think it was good too, just because, so. All right, well, how you been doing? You're good?
I'm tired, but yeah. The baby's growing well and healthy.
Good.
But I'm nauseous and tired and all that good stuff.
Sorry. It'll be done.
Kung Fu fighting. Yeah. She's in there kicking the hell out of me. So I'm like, oh my
man.
God. Is that my son was not.
No.
He was not this active. I mean, she just, and you just, they kick your bladder and your colon. I mean, you feel it. So, but at least I know she's doing well. That's why she's so active. And
that's a blessing. And soon you get to see her. So
yeah. So I'm just winding down as much as possible and letting people know. So yeah.
Okay, well, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Hope you get some rest.
You too. Hopefully we'll get to chat soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.